everybody, and welcome to Clutter Talk Live, Thinking Global, Acting Local. And I'm Dr. Zem Moffat, your host for the day. And we have Elaine and Clara joining us shortly, and a very exciting guest. Gayatri Gandhi from the Joy Factory, India, will be joining us. And this is brought to you by Clutter Chat, the Glasgow charity in Scotland that seeks to help and relieve the stress of clutter from people's lives through education and through chat, basically. So without more ado, I would like to bring into the Zoom living room Clara and Elaine.
Hi.
Hello, Clara of Joy of Space, and hello, Elaine of Clear Mountain Decluttering. How are you both?
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, good, thanks. Yeah, good today.
So, well, I'm going to kick off. We'll sort of start. So, how's our week been? So, I wanted to show you my artistic project that I was working on since last week.
Oh,
so,
wow.
you know those.
Proper recycling and repurposing has gone on there.
Yeah. So, for those of you that weren't maybe in the show last week, I received these cardboard insides from some shoes that I'd ordered, and I just started decorating them, and I think I'm going to make them into some kind of sculpture, sort of walking up the wall. So that's what I've been up to, and I've absolutely decided that creativity is an essential part of decluttering and of sort of feeling the joy in the world. So that's my update. Elaine, how's your week been?
It's been good, thanks. It's been some nice weather, so that's been good. Been out for lots of walks, both over the weekend, and I had a lovely walk yesterday, socially distanced with a couple of pals, so that was great. And also this morning I received this lovely postcard. Who was that postcard from?
It's from me!
That was from Zem. And why she sent me this is because if anybody doesn't know, then my background is I was a ski instructor in Switzerland and France, and I was missing the Alps. And she sent me this, which is a sort of 1950s sort of publicity photograph from the Alps. So it's made me feel good, Zem. So thanks very much. You know, keeping in contact in the old-fashioned way with a postcard. So fantastic. Thank you.
Pleasure. And it was part of my decluttering. So it's actually an old Christmas card, but when I got it, I thought, oh, Elaine would love that. So I was waiting for the right moment. And what I've been trying to do for Lent, because I try and observe Lent sort of before Easter and giving up something, but I've tried to sort of give up or sort of declutter something every day as well. It's quite hard. Like I've been trying to sort of declutter a habit, or declutter maybe a negative emotion I'm feeling. And that's quite hard. It's quite a hard task to do one a day. So I gave myself some time off at the weekend. Yeah. So anyway, I'll stop yapping. Clara, how's your week been?
It's been good. It's been a mixed week. I've had lots of visits to the car showroom because they repaired something but then broke two things. So that's been a practice in patience, which is not one of my strong suits when it comes to me personally. I'm not that patient with other people, so that's been interesting. But I've had lots of lovely long walks and spending time with family. And today I'm really excited with the new rules. I am going out for a run with two grown-up women, socially distanced. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be able to just get out and do something with other people. So yeah, I'm thrilled about that.
Yeah, I think that gave us a big boost, didn't it? The fact that there was a kind of now a plan for us coming out of lockdown. And I think anybody that I've spoken to this week has said, wow, you know, I can now see how we're going to go forward. And I'm a bit cautious about that. I keep saying, you know, okay, baby steps. But if that's making people feel a bit better, then great, you know, that's a good boost to us all. but we just have to always be cautious, and there's going to be big lifestyle changes that we have to make for many years to come, I think.
I do hear you as well, Zem, about the creativity. And Nina, who we had on in a past season, the artist who did the beautiful garden and the mosaic work, she is planning over Easter she's been prolifically creative, and she's planning to complete 27 paintings that she's got ongoing at the one time, and also do her mosaic wall. So that's what I'm hearing when I'm speaking to people. People are enjoying the thought of being creative, either with colour that they're wearing or in things that they're doing or repurposing. So it's good to see some light and new growth and the flower buds.
And it's Spring Clearing Week for us and our colleagues in the ABTO, the Association of Professional Declutterers. Spring Clearing Week from the 22nd to the 28th of March. And it's about us trying to make clutter count. So that's a great way of sort of introducing that again, about trying to donate as much as you can, try to recycle as much as you can, and try to repurpose as much as you can. And obviously Nina is well on the way for doing that.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool.
And so for those who are sort of watching who aren't in the UK, basically we're still in kind of fairly severe lockdown. So for us declutterers, we can't really work in people's houses unless it's a bit of an emergency. Someone's moving house. So we're still doing a lot of sort of virtual work, but that's why people are kind of we're starting to be able to make dates with people to go and see them socially distanced, but sort of in person. So, and just to let everybody know as well, that if you have any questions for Elaine, Clara, myself, and or for our guests that we're shortly to introduce, then you can message them where this is going live, well, if you're watching it, in the Clutter Chat charity Facebook page. So please do ask us any questions, because we'd love to. We don't like being alone, do we, ladies? We don't like it. And on that note, I am going to share screen, Elaine, and would you like to introduce our wonderful guest all the way from India, no expense spared? We have Gayatri Gandhi.
Hi, so yes, before we do that, you are watching Dr. Zem Moffat, Elaine McKinley of Clear Mountain Decluttering Lifestyle Organising, and Clara Moore of Joy of Space, and we are all professional organisers and members of ABTO, the Association of Professional Declutterers and Organisers. And we are very, very happy to bring onto the screen Gayatri Gandhi, who was the first KonMari consultant in India, and her company is the Joy Factory in India, and we're really happy to have her coming on and talking about the KonMari method, but maybe also about how she works with her clients in India and all the sort of cultural differences and the ways that she works with them. So welcome, Gayatri, to our living room, from our living room to yours. Obviously it's daytime for us here. It's about 2:10 or something like that. So what time is it with you?
It's 7:30 in the evening.
7:30 in the evening.
Yes.
So welcome.
Thank you so much for this lovely invite. I'm really looking forward to interacting with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So have you, and now I'm all about the food really. Have you had your dinner yet, or are you going to wait till after the show?
I was thinking about that too.
We have it a little later in India. We don't have it as early as you all in the West. We have it around 9 p.m. So there's still some time to go for that.
That's good, because I find also that I have to have a light lunch before the show, because I can't do something like this on a full stomach. So anyway, it's good to get all that sorted, really. So I'll kick off with the first question. What drew you to decluttering? Where did this want to do it come from?
Right. So actually, I'm a media professional. I worked for Discovery Channel for 10 years. And so I had my corporate life, working in a great job, everything. But I think somewhere something was not making sense. And that's the time I decided to take a sabbatical. And when I took a sabbatical, this is about 5 years ago that I took a sabbatical, and I came across this book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up with Marie Kondo. Honestly speaking, I also picked it up because I am a fairly organized person. Otherwise, I think not every normal person will pick up that book, because you need to have some interest towards organization and decluttering. So when I picked up that book to read, I think I was very fascinated. I was blown away. I was like, wow, just by putting your things in order, life can, become so good. Like, how simple yet so interesting is that? And I remember coming home that day and I started putting my things in order and started folding in the KonMari style, watching videos. And my husband is like, what's gone into you? Are you all right? I said, no, you wait, things will change. I will show you. And this is what Marie Kondo has written. And I think I started doing that and it started making a lot of sense. And in fact, whatever she wrote in the book, I could start seeing it in my own personal life as well. Like, she says things like, your personal life opens up, a lot of blockages that are stuck, they open up. So I started seeing that because a lot of projects of my husband, business projects that were stuck for many years, when I started helping him declutter his wardrobe, his closet, his projects opened up, a lot of deals came through. So I think that made a lot of sense. And I felt, okay, maybe what she's saying is right. And I felt that, why not try this even more? And so of course, this is 5 years ago that I'm talking about. So of course, nothing of that sort was existent in our country at that time. This is in India. And, I remember when I told my parents and my family that I want to start something like this, they're like, what? You want to leave your job at Discovery Channel and you want to start something like this? Are you out of your mind? So I said, no, you wait and watch. I said, there is a lot of potential here. And I think instead of taking it as a shortcoming that no one else was doing it in our country, I thought, let me take it up as an opportunity to create a market with starting something like this rather than following someone and say that, I followed someone to do so. So that is why I thought that I will, start doing this professionally. And in fact, to concretize what I was thinking, I did a global survey with over 200 respondents. It was very small from my level, but I think with those respondents, I wrote to a lot of people, and when they responded saying that they were okay with a professional organizer coming to their homes to help them organize, I think that validated my idea, and I felt that India perhaps was now ready to, invite such a concept in their life. And so I think that just made me start this. And I was very clear that if I will do it, I will do it with Marie Kondo. I will take the training from her. Also because I personally loved her philosophy of spark joy. I think it was so sweet, happy, and yet so empowering and simple that I felt that it's not just decluttering. It's really about making people happy from wherever they are. It's okay. You don't have to have big homes and, mansions. Wherever you are, you can spark joy. And that's how I, went to New York in 2017 for my course, and I got certified, and that's how Joy Factory happened. And I became India's first certified KonMari consultant. So yeah, that's been my journey.
Now, there's someone else in this Zoom window that was also the first KonMari consultant in her country. But before I kind of get her to talk about that, Gayatri, India's a very big country. So I think there's over 20 odd languages spoken. And so which particular bit of India are you working in, or sort of, well, can you paint the picture of sort of, are you city, are you rural, what is your bit of India like?
Yeah, absolutely. You rightly said, we're a very diverse country and a very proud country of over 20 languages, and enough and more happening in our country. The biggest population, as you all know, we are exploding in that sense. But I'm in the north of my country. So New Delhi is the place, if you've heard of it. New Delhi is the capital of India. So I am stationed there. And so I usually take care of course, pan-India clients are there for me, but majority of my work happens in the north of India. And some of it happens in Bombay. If you've heard, that's the financial capital of our country. So a lot of, there is a lot of work that happens there. So I get to travel. But I would say that over this last few years, a lot of people have now, taken to this profession, and a lot of professional organizers have come into, taking this up as a business. So it's a great thing that I, being the pioneer, was someone who led the way. So I take pride in that, and I feel happy about it. And I want to take everybody along with me to make this, because I feel decluttering is really about not just your physical space, but actually your mental space. And I think that's the most interesting part of decluttering. Yeah.
Oh, we're all about pioneering women on this show, and we've had a few men as well, but pioneering, we're all about it.
Yes.
So does Clara, Elaine want to speak up about who was the next person in Scotland?
Oh, well, I like you, Gayatri, I really read the book and it just instantly resonated with me, more so than any other book I'd read about feng shui or any other space clearing. It just spoke to me, the simplicity and the joy of it, and the ease in which people could take on what they wanted from it. So I went to the first training, in the international training in New York, and it was just one of the most wonderful experiences, because everything was being written as we were doing it. So there's something so exciting, as you said, like the pioneer aspect of doing something that's never been done before, because the Japanese culture and how the training went there is very different than working with Europeans and people from all over the world. We had such a diverse group of people, Australia, Brazil, just so many different countries coming together in one big amazing city to just with this joyful message. So yeah, like you, it's just really resonated for me, and it's just seeing people transform so quickly. It's wonderful. What do you find a theme with the people that you're working with, and does it change from when you're working in the financial area to when you're working in New Delhi? Is there a theme in both places, or?
Yeah, so actually Bombay is like Japan, because it has very tiny homes as compared to the north of India where I live. We have bigger homes, so there are less of flats and less of apartments. There are more of independent homes and bungalows, whereas in Bombay there is more of flats and apartments and less of bungalows. So because it's constraint of space, so Bombay has a lot of people wanting you to come and help them to maximize their space in whatever they have, so their willingness to work that much harder is there. Whereas in the north of my country, where I stay, there is less, because of course it's a bigger home, so then you can hide your clutter, so they don't see the clutter, and then they're like, what's the big deal, I don't need to do anything. So I think that's the biggest difference that I see in both the cities. But having said that, I think with the coming up of Marie Kondo show on Netflix, I think that just changed the game for so many people in my country, because suddenly they got aware that Marie Kondo is not just a book. In fact, you can see her, you can look at her, and there's a show around it. I think that really resonated, and that really gave me and my company a big spike, because I was the only one in our country. Organically, when you searched for Marie Kondo India or KonMari India, I fortunately popped up, and that automatically a lot of business came my way. So I would say I've been fortunate enough, that way, that things have moved in a very, very wonderful direction since the time I launched Joy Factory.
That's so exciting. And as Zem said, could you paint a picture of what the buildings are like in this? I know you've said they're small in Bombay, and where in your area that you're living larger, but do they have basements? Do they have attics? Are they on the one level? Are they flats? Are there all different types of buildings that you're working in?
So absolutely. So of course, we don't have too many attics. We have more of basements, which I think is a little different in the West, because you guys have more of attics That's what I understand. But here we do have more of basements, and we have a lot of stores. And because these stores that we have, the trunks and big things that you're actually wanting to hide gets hidden in these stores. So that's what happens. But yes, to give you a picture of how the homes look like, it's more of basements and less of attics. And of course in Bombay it's just the apartment on its own and nothing else.
Thank
So
you.
I wanted to ask
Ah,
you.
so a store is like a cellar, or is it's
Yes, it's like a cellar. Yes.
Go on, Elaine.
No, I was just wanted to ask you. So, I mean, I think that culturally, obviously, we live in different ways in the West and in India. So, how do you go into a home when there's like multi-generational living in that home? I mean, that must be such a big challenge for you.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, in my own home, like I was mentioning earlier to you people, that, because I too stay with my in-laws, and I have my parents also staying. When I was unmarried, I was staying with my parents. So a lot of it, have to deal with counseling them and making them understand that, this is not just about throwing things. It's really about living a happier life with the things that you have. Because I think a lot of time we have this tendency of just hoarding and holding on to things, thinking that we will use it someday. But like Marie Kondo says, someday doesn't come ever. And you want to use that piece of crockery that when those guests will arrive, then I will use my thing. So like you rightly said, Elaine, that it is difficult, honestly. And for me personally in India, cutting through the mindset with the people, especially who are of the older generation, because the younger generation call me saying that please come and help. But then when the older generation comes and talks to me, they're like, why have you come? We can do it ourselves. Why do we need you? And also because in our country, we have a lot of house helps and a lot of staff. So a lot of the work gets carried out by the staff and the house helps. So they feel that why do we need you to do it when we already have like a house help cleaning or sweeping or things like that? So I think that's a very different way of dealing with people. But I think like Marie Kondo also says, a lot of compassion, lot of patience is needed with your client. And I think to really embrace them the way they are, and not like a blanket rule that if A is A here, then A will be A there. No, it's okay. You can take your time. So I think that's where it is. It's slow and steady, but I think it's getting there, definitely.
I think it was interesting. And I noticed a post that you had done the other day about the difference between cleaning and clearing. So could you tell our viewers, it was a really good explanation actually that you did. So could you tell our viewers your sort of ideas on that, or Marie Kondo's ideas on that actually?
Absolutely. In fact, I would like Clara also to, pitch into this one, because when I read Marie Kondo's book, I thought the difference between tidying and cleaning is so important, because personally for me, I thought that I knew the difference and I thought they were the same, but I was so grossly wrong, because they are not the same. And in fact, whenever I do tell my family, or in fact when as mothers we tell our children that go clean your room, actually we are telling them to tidy up their room. We are not saying that go start sweeping and dusting and things like that. But I think because we use these two words synonymously, a lot of time there is a misconception and we end up using the wrong word for the wrong sentence. So I think that is a big misconception. But Marie Kondo puts it rather simply and interestingly that, tidying is the act of confronting yourself, because a cluttered room is entirely your own doing, because you left that glass on that table, no one else did it. And of course, and cleaning is the act of confronting nature, because it's the law of nature that dust and dirt will come from the universe. So I just found that very, very interesting. And I think it's great that people can get to know more about it. Clara, you can also add if you wish to, please.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying, and it's something I'm very excited about, and it's something I've presented to the KonMari team about, because like you say, as a mother, or if you imagine yourself as a 5-year-old child and a parent or a caretaker says to you, go and clean your room, what does that mean to your brain? And also, have you been actually taught to tidy? Have you been taught to tidy your room? And so the parent says, go and tidy, or perhaps your flatmate says, or whomever you share in your room, go and tidy this. But have we been taught to tidy? And what does tidying mean? So that's something I love working with families and couples with, and children and parents with. It's something I'm really excited and passionate about. So yeah, I hear you.
And I think that's the difference when people say to us, oh, why are you so expensive? Because I could just get a cleaner in to do that. And what I try to say is, we're coaching you to change your mindset, to change habits, to look at how you are living in the space. And it's lovely to get a cleaner in, to make that space clear and clean. But for your own brain, we need to help you declutter or let go of items that are holding you back in many aspects of your life, not just in the visual aspects of your life. Totally. So it is it's very difficult, isn't it, to explain to people initially why your service is different from a cleaning service.
Absolutely. And that's exactly, I definitely, like I was telling you, that because we have a lot of house helps and a lot of staff in our country. So when I did tell, my family that I wanted to be a declutterer, they kept saying, no, you're a cleaner. I said, no, I'm a declutterer. They're like, no, but this is what a cleaner does. I said, no, they don't do the same thing. So I totally hear you, what you're saying, Elaine, that it's very difficult because the mindset needs to be cleared out. Otherwise, it's very easy to use the word synonymously and the misconception keeps on increasing. That's how it's always been.
And for you, I find it fascinating that your client group that you're working with, whether they're young or old, if they have help in the house, whether it's cleaners or whatever type of help, then have they actually been taught? Have they learned? Have they the habit of tidying, or is it something they always have been used to someone else doing for them? So for you, that's an added thing. I worked with a client from Dubai, and that was fascinating for me because she grew up with a lot of wealth and a lot of help in the house. She didn't know how to clean, she didn't know how to tidy, she didn't know how to iron. So she had a mountain of clothing because she would wear something, get makeup on it, not realize you can get makeup out of clothes and just put it to the side, but keep it. And so that was quite fascinating because it was going back right to the basics, not just about our mindset, but about how her habitat and her culture had affected her ability to manage in the UK. But I love your clarity of thought and I love the way you express yourself.
Actually, you're right, because here in India, when I go to my clients' homes, I'm not just teaching the client, I'm actually also teaching the house help, because like you rightly said, a lot of us give instructions to our house help saying that do this, do that. So if I don't know how to organize or how to declutter, my staff will also not know. So a lot of time when I'm dealing with my clients, then I tell my client that they need to be sitting there along with the house help, because the actual folding of clothes or putting things back, the staff will be doing it eventually. So it's actually a two-way training for me that I end up doing, because a lot of time they are saying that we will not be doing it. It's the staff that will be doing. So please teach them. But I'm like, if I teach them and you don't know, then the gap is already there. So you also need to know to tell them what needs to be done. So I think that's what, how it's.
And it would be fascinating to know the ripple effect of that. Are there all these homes, because of all the staff that work in the different homes who then talk to other staff and their family members, is that just rippled across India, where people are just doing this folding technique?
They'll be like, wow, what just happened?
Because when Elaine and Zem and I present at the Ideal Home Show every year, and we do a bit on the KonMari and folding techniques, it's amazing how many people come back to us so excited and want to send us pictures of their drawers, of their folded underwear and their clothing, and they're just like, well, I'd maybe thought, I was skeptical, I was scoffing at this, and then I'm just so excited by it and the ripple effect of that.
Absolutely.
And it's an interesting one because, as Clara said, you know, we think sometimes that we're aiming for the female gender, really, you know,
Right.
or in the home. But actually, especially when we were at the Ideal Home Show, we were talking to obviously a mixed bag of people. And it was the men that were coming back and saying, oh no, do you know, I've cleared up my drawer and my shirts are all hanging, and you know, I can get out to work in 5 minutes now. I don't need to be looking for my tie and whatever it is, because my socks are there and my pants are there and my, you know, and the ripple effect was huge actually in that concept. And what I wanted to ask you about, so in families, do you come across, which sometimes I come across, is that it's the mother or the father or the caregiver says, it's the children, they never put anything away. And I say to them, well, you need to teach them how to do that. So that when they become, you know, youths or young adults, that when they move into their own flats or whatever, they know how to do it. And this is something that we probably are going to take to youth groups now. We are maybe working with another charity where we will go in and talk to them about the transition between being a child really and moving into university, you know, or college or whatever. And they haven't been taught at home how to do it, and how do they organize their brains, and how do they organize their living environment. So do you come across that at any point?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, you know, a lot of time when people say that, but I know how to organize, I know how to declutter. Actually, the thing is that you don't know. You need to be taught. It is a skill. For me, I personally have felt that organizing and decluttering is a skill that has to be honed. It's not something just because you're a woman, you're supposed to know, because that's usually the tendency that people think that just she's a mother or she's a woman, she's supposed to look after the home, so she knows how to do it. No, it doesn't work like that. And very rightly you said, Elaine, that if I don't know how to do it, how will I teach my children or my family? So I think that's where the gap is, because it's assumed that the woman would know. You think that, you know, the house will be nice and would be nicely kept, but I have been to so many homes where the woman is maybe the, you know, caregiver, yet the home is in a mess because she doesn't know how to do it, you know. So I think you're very rightly saying, and that's exactly what, you know, we have been doing at Joy Factory in the last 1.5 years, is that to create a lot of awareness by holding workshops and seminars, just to explain that please learn how to declutter, because otherwise we keep organizing clutter, you know, especially around Diwali, which is a very big festival for us in our country. It happens during November. It's a festival of lights. So the time at that time, we usually do spring cleaning, which actually is supposed to be done now, but Diwali cleaning is also a very big thing in our country. What I've seen with clients is that they take out everything, they clean everything, then they put back everything. I'm like, no, you don't put back everything, you declutter at that point. So, you know, that is exactly what, you know, we've been trying to do in our, you know, in the last 1.5 years, is just to create education and awareness about decluttering, because if you don't know how to do it, you will never know, you know, how to go ahead with it. So that's exactly, and I totally hear you when you say that it needs to be taught, it needs to be told, otherwise you can get very confused about it.
And I don't think it's right to give people a hard time if they've never learned. I mean, it's so unfair, and people will either give themselves a hard time going, well, why can't I do it? Well, you know, I'm trying to learn Swahili at the moment. Do you know what I mean? It's like, if I'm not taught, and exactly. my grammar's appalling, absolutely appalling. So like, but trying to learn, it takes, you know, I need to want to learn, but also I need teachers and help and YouTube videos.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. Totally agree.
And that's the thing, that when you do learn, it looks easy when you've put the time to build your skills up. And that's when people can say, well, that's so easy, so why should we have a KonMari consultant or a professional organizer or a declutterer in our home? Well, that's because we're constantly working on our skills. So, and it's something we're passionate about. So, but it just reminded me earlier on, Gayatri, when you were saying about people folding, and I've had a client during lockdown who had to go in for surgery, and I never shared this with Elaine and Zem, but the nurses actually all came and looked at the client's suitcase because they packed with the KonMari folding techniques, and they were all like, "That's amazing! Come and see this. I've never seen anything like that."
Oh, lovely.
You should have left a wee card in that, actually, Clara.
Great.
But there is a prime example of how, you know, you can be organized for life events. And I think this is something that we like to take to people when we do our courses, etc. That decluttering is not only about the physical things around your house.
Absolutely.
Or organizing is not only about the physical things about your house. It's about time management in your brain. It's about clearing the space in your brain so you can function properly at work. All these things all start to come out, and we have all had clients who have said to us, your sessions with us have changed our lives.
Yes.
You know, I mean, we have. And we have realized our potential. We have gone down different directions. We have changed job. We've moved house. You've unblocked that block that was there, which I thought was, you know, the stuff around me, but actually it wasn't only that, it was in my mind or in my body or wherever. And I think that this is something that these sort of, our little show is bringing out to people, that it's not only about the stuff that's in your home, you know, and I'm sure that you're finding that as well. Yes. So I wanted to ask you, because there's quite a lot of travel in India, or travel from India, say, to Britain, to all the skills that you guys are bringing to Britain, do you work with people who are sort of downsizing or organizing to move to other countries? Do you ever work with people like that?
So actually, yes, a lot of it has started happening. That honestly, this is before the lockdown I'm talking about, and and also because these concepts have become very popular, especially because of social media, like minimalism, huga. All these concepts are now really taking a lot of interest in people's lives, and in India especially, because it's a developing country, no doubt, but the economy is really booming. So the kind of salaries the youngsters are getting is much higher than perhaps I may have got 20 years ago or 15 years ago. So the disposable income has suddenly become very, very high, and because the disposable income is high, they are willing to shell out that kind of money to hire an expert like me to come and help them sort out their home before they go to another country or another city, because they feel that when they go into another country, they want to live in a great manner. And I think because they have now come to realize that minimalism, or having lesser things, actually adds so much value in your brain, that there is so much space for so many other things, that I think a lot of them very automatically and very seamlessly are wanting to hire a professional organizer to teach them the right way of living, because I think everybody is now aspiring to do so. And I think in the lockdown especially, I've seen that I got so many virtual queries, because I think because people felt that decluttering is something that we will do when I have the time. But it's not like that. You create time to do something like this. So, but when people were in the lockdown last year, I think they all felt that my home is my work, my home is my party place, my home is my restaurant, my home is everything. So I better make it nice, and I better make it presentable for myself, because no one else is coming to me. So I think the queries therefore became so many last year, because they felt that now that we are stuck in our homes, please help us sort out our own home. So I think I saw that shift very, very, like it was very obvious. And I felt that, wow, people are actually now realizing, staying at home, that they need to get rid of a lot of things and really clear it out to make it a very happy and a very meaningful home. So that's what I personally felt.
That's very interesting. At the beginning of lockdown, I worked with a doctor here in Glasgow who was a specialist. Actually, she was a surgeon, and she was going to be commuting from Glasgow to Newcastle, which is kind of down in England. Yeah. So she was coming up every weekend, and she said to me, "How can I manage this? I'm not going to have time at the weekends to gather stuff together and take another lot of clothes down or whatever." And we used the KonMari method to basically set up 7 days worth of clothes
Wow.
So 7 days worth of clothes were in her wardrobe, and she took away another 7 days worth of clothes. And then she would come back at the weekend and she would pick up this lot of 7 days worth of clothes and take it. And what that did for her was it freed up time, her free time, which was very much needed because she was very busy through the week.
Yes.
But what she wrote me a beautiful testimonial actually about how it had completely de-stressed her work life as well, because she would go down, she knew she had her suits for when she was doing consultations, she would get the suit, everything was there, put it on, and then she would have her scrubs for when she was going into whatever it was to do her operations or whatever. And she was a very, very busy girl, you know, I mean, really. And she said it just changed her life because this was going to be so much mind clutter, because she was having to drive up and down. She was having to look at, you know, obviously the hygiene levels that were going to be there. So we arranged for all these clothes to go at the weekends to go and be sterilized, to come back, you know, everything like that. It was a big, big project. But clearly, using the KonMari technique of the folding and everything like that, we managed to pack these cases very, very neatly and very small, just like we're going into hospital, like your client.
Yeah. Elaine, I've got something to add to that, and then we've got a question for you, Gayatri. So
I have a question as well. I'm just going to put that in there.
I've got one from Chrissy here. So, well, I was just going to say, I've worked with clients using that technique who have executive function challenges like ADHD, where we lay out the accessories, the underwear, the outfits, whatever goes with it, and take a snap on and create a file for them for work or for leisure. And then the resting levels of anxiety that people who perhaps brains are wired differently or wake up feeling anxious, then it instantly lowers because they're not starting their day in a stressful way. They can just go into the file and go, okay, today I'm going to work. I don't want a low cut top because I'm going to be bending over working with people. So I'll go for an outfit that I'm not going to be all day uncomfortable in. But the question that we have for you from Chrissy, Gayatri, have you worked with people with health problems that make it hard for them to manage physically and or mentally?
Yes, in fact, very interesting question. One of my first few clients, one of them was in a very severe case of OCD. Her condition was so severe that she used to wash her hands at least 100 times a day. And I'm not kidding. Like when I used to go to her home, she used to only be in the bathroom just washing her hands, and her skin had started peeling off because she was only washing her hands, thinking that everything around her is dirty. And I remember that I worked with her very, I became like a friend to her because a lot of my time went into counseling with her to explain. I remember talking to her for 8-9 hours, just listening to her, what she was feeling, the anxiety, the being hyper about thinking that everything is unclean and untidy. And I think slowly and steadily I broke it down for her, and of course the KonMari method was applied slowly and steadily. And I think in the process she realized that she has such severe OCD that eventually she went to a rehab, and she started staying there. And I remember her mother then eventually called me saying that she's recovering so well at the rehab because she's undergone this whole KonMari journey, and so her mind is not stressed about the things at home anymore, so she's able to let go. And in fact, just about 2 months ago, she's back from the rehab, and she's called me and she said that I want you to come back and finish where we left, because I feel that the whole KonMari journey really helped her in overcoming her illness of being an OCD. So I really actually feel very grateful and humbled that KonMari philosophy is so humbling in that sense, because it can really penetrate into not just the physical space but actually into the minds of people we can't even imagine. I mean, we all are in good health, but people who are not in good health, you can see the difference, and it's such a wonderful and a value creating feeling. So yeah, it's been wonderful. Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm wondering if you could help me or help us think a bit more about sort of the internal sort of imaginary of what's happening in sort of the Indian sort of way of thinking. So I'm thinking about a couple of things. In the UK, there's a strong attachment to inheritance and to inherited objects amongst quite a large proportion of the population. So one of the biggest struggles is working with kind of incredibly rich families who have massive portraits that they then downsize, and they can't afford the staff, or they no longer can, but they've got these massive portraits. The weight of the family history is so much.
Right.
And that, you know, it's difficult to help them to let go. And another story I remember is that I was working with a woman, and we were sat at her kitchen table, and on it was these beautiful brass bowls, and they'd come from her family house pre-partition India, before her family had moved to Glasgow, and they were sat there, but they were pre-partition, so it was one sort of family heritage with another coming to the UK, and she was sat, and she just didn't know what to do with them because there was so much history. So I was saying, like, well, we could give them to the local Gurdwara, or you could use them, but they just sat there on the kitchen table. So is this, so yeah, I was just wondering if you could maybe talk about that a little bit.
No, absolutely. In fact, I think the biggest challenge for us Indians is actually the attachment to the items. And like you rightly said, because there is such rich history to our country, that a lot of it has to do with that. Because like I mentioned earlier, that we still have a joint family system in our country, because a lot of generations are still staying together. So even in we have great grandparents, the parents, and the children. So it's like 5 generations still staying together. So obviously, like you rightly said, the level of attachment is very high, and because the pre-partition and the partition time holds a very significant aspect in people's life, because the grandparents of mine or other people in the house, they were the ones who actually experienced the whole partition time, and because it was as recent as maybe just 70 years ago, so they are still living. So like you said, the attachment to things that they have brought from the partition days is very high. So to tell them to now please let go of that is not easy, because they suddenly start having nostalgic memories and things, and they have so many stories behind it. So definitely that is one of the most challenging aspects for in India. But having said that, I think when you start explaining the whole decluttering journey to a person or to someone, and explain that how it how memories don't leave you, it's only the thing that is leaving you. I think when you explain that difference to the people, I think maybe out of 10, maybe they can let go of maybe 2 things. That's also a great thing, at least there is somewhere a start. So I think a lot of it has to do with a lot of counseling and letting them understand what actually decluttering is in the right sense. Because if you just tell them to throw it away, they will say that you please go out of our house, we don't need you anymore. But I think when you explain it to them rationally and explain that how things can actually bring you happiness, joy, I think everybody likes joy, everybody likes happiness. So when you explain it to them like that, they are understanding. And it takes time, definitely. Like in my house as well, my parents took at least 3 years to finally let go of something that they have held on to for so long. In fact, I remember when I decluttered my parents' home, there was so much stuff that came out from the pre-partition days that neighbors thought that they were actually moving homes, and they said that, are you moving homes? And my parents were like, no, we're not moving home, this was somewhere there in the back of our homes. So I think it's a very slow process. And even like my mother-in-law, I stay with her, and it's taken her also 4 years to come to terms with what I do. And now she's so happy about what I do, and actually has understood that decluttering is not about throwing that thing, but it's about letting go with gratitude and actually accepting and loving the things that you are left with. So I think when you make that difference to those people, it makes a lot of sense.
And it's about letting it go with gratitude, isn't it? It's about saying thank you. Thank you for being in my life. It's now time. And I often imagine, like, our homes, it's like we're hosting a party and all the stuff is here. And some guests we've invited, some guests we haven't, some guests are staying too long, and some guests are leaving too quickly. But every guest that comes, you kind of have to say, oh, well, thank you. I hope you had a good time. It was really nice. here's the door. and I think this charity shop or my neighbour or would really love to have you host you now. But I've really enjoyed sort of, you being in my home. But I think gratitude, and that's something that I picked up. Clara did a bit of work for me. She probably needs to do a bit more, actually, on the Marie Kondo technique. So I'm not totally kondoed. But I definitely was very touched by that idea of, and in the Clutter Chat charity groups, we talk about having a conversation with the object that you're struggling with. So you can almost talk to it like a person, really, and say, well, you came in, you were given me by Aunt Ethel. I really loved Aunt Ethel, but you're now a bit chipped, and I think so and so would might. And so it's actually animating it.
And all the time, actually, people think that you're silly by doing this, but if you do it, it makes a lot of sense, because initially, even I remember when I read in Mari's book, she's saying, talk to your objects. I'm like, what is she talking about? But I think when I did it, I actually felt that my letting go of so many things became so much easier. And now even I tell my family, they're like, no, you're stupid. How can you say such a thing? I've said, no, just do it for yourself to see the difference, because it is true and it makes so much sense. It's really, really wonderful.
And having that conversation with your objects, whether it's internally or externally, really, really helps. And I feel that personally and professionally working with clients, that causes such a great shift that people very quickly are moved to tears. Perhaps you're working with a client who is letting go of objects related to the loss of the dream of being able to have their own child, or it might be the loss of the dream of doing a particular job. And through saying to that object, speaking to that object and saying, well, thank you for that dream, but to move forward, I need to let you go, or whatever that conversation is, so powerful. Such a simple idea and philosophy, but often Elaine, Zem and I have been moved to tears when we've witnessed either the client, the outcome of their internal conversation, or hearing them. Yeah. And what I've found interesting as well is sometimes people assign genders to objects, like it's a she or it's a he, or it's a they. It's very interesting.
Very interesting. I think you have a personal rapport with the object without even realizing it, which is damn interesting, and it's quite fascinating actually to think about it.
Yeah. Well, we've got another just under 10 minutes left of this show, so I want to find out if there's any more questions. I also want to do community announcements. I don't know if Elaine or Clara have thought of a power of 5. Clara wants to share something, but let's go through the housekeeping first. So community announcements. Elaine, are you ready for this?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so what are our community announcements? One, this is brought to you by the Glasgow Scottish-based charity Clutter Chat, and we seek the relief of people who suffer from clutter and hoarding, and so we're really pleased to do this, and we are going to have a next series, time to be confirmed, or date to be confirmed. So if you want to know when that's happening, subscribe to the YouTube channel and or keep an eye on the Facebook page, and it will come up there, and various social media platforms. I think we've got Twitter, Instagram, other stuff. And the next series is going to be called Deep Thinking, and it's going to have thinkers, academics, artists, researchers all thinking about clutter on the show. So we're going to kind of dive deep and hopefully come out with a lot of joy. So subscribe and or keep an eye on the Facebook, Instagram, blah, blah, blah. Elaine, we have a course coming up.
We do. We have the course at the Glasgow Clyde College, and actually while we've been on air here, I've just had a confirmation that has now gone live, so we will post that at some point.
Oh yeah, what's the link?
On the information below. I've not looked at that yet, but we will have that. So that's going on, and it is calming chaos in your home and life, if you are interested in joining us for that. It's on a Monday night at 7 p.m. from the 19th of April for 6 weeks. So
I'm pretty sure you can join from around the world as well, if it's if it fits in.
If you'd like
it's to virtual. It's a virtual course.
Virtual course. As Zem said, obviously keep an eye on the Clutter Chat Facebook page and any of the other social media sites that we are on. We have also got, obviously, we're still promoting Spring Clearing Week from ABTO, so make your clutter count. So if you are decluttering today or through the next couple of days, remember to donate, recycle or repurpose, which is one of the three things. Apart from that, at the moment, we obviously are looking forward to our next session on Clutter Talk Live, which we will let you know of when we have the dates confirmed. Yeah,
thank you.
Clara, you go.
Yes, the thing that I wanted to share was, I don't know if any of our viewers know about this, but it's a beautiful book called All Aboard, and it's about two male London Underground workers who were anonymous to begin with, and they just, off of their own willingness to want to inspire and uplift through their own mental well-being challenges, would write up at the Underground's inspirational sayings, and we now know who they are, and there's now this book called All Aboard. But one of them was, I don't know if Zem can share it, but one of them was, if someone asks, are you all right, but you feel half left today, it's quite all right to not feel right, and okay not to be okay. And I'm just thinking, during lockdown, how lovely for the people going through that London Underground, massive place, and just seeing that uplifting message. And the other one that I loved that I wanted to share was, this is a warning to all of our families and friends in the world. It's some important information that you need to know. When this is all over, you're getting the biggest hugs ever, and we're never we're never going to let go. So they would just post that up on a board without permission, and they eventually did get permission. It's just so inspiring. And Gayatri, Chrissy loved your answer, and she wanted to thank you for it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And there's some nice posts on here saying that everybody's enjoyed the international perspective of this series and looking forward to next series. So well done, Dr. Zem, for getting everybody.
Great.
Thank you, Zem.
Yeah.
And Zem, we've got Jocelyn asking what happened to the pre-partition objects.
I think they might still be on the kitchen table.
But maybe the client changed their mindset about it. Maybe it wasn't as challenging. We don't know.
I don't know.
Well, I wonder if, Gayatri, do you have any last words of Indian wisdom or Gayatri wisdom or just universal wisdom that you can share with us?
No, I just want to say a big thank you once again for inviting me. It's always so much fun to talk to people of, somewhere else, but really thinking the same. And I think this little, mission that we all are at of making people happy by such a simple, task of decluttering, I genuinely feel that, we are doing something to contribute to the world. And I want to say a big thank you for helping me, coming to your, show, for collaborating together, because I feel if women come together, we can really make a lot of difference. So big thank you for doing so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we haven't actually come up with, normally we do this power of 5, right? Where we go, you've got to choose 5 things. Do I really need this? And then do I really want this? But I suggest today, Elaine, that you tell people about our clocks are changing on Sunday. Our clocks change twice a year and we're losing an hour. But what do you do? What is your recommendation, Elaine, for when the clocks change?
So part of my lifestyle coaching is that we use the clock, so the change of the clocks forward and back, as our 6 monthly declutter. Okay, it's a natural time of the year to declutter. Everybody knows it's coming on because everybody has to change their clock. So use this time to trigger a little mini declutter in your paperwork, your food, your clothing, any items that don't spark joy. Let's go along the Marie Kondo route. Any books that you think you could pass on or donate, or any other items that you think would be useful or repurposed. So let's really join together this time, this 6 monthly declutter. So when the clocks go forward and when the clocks go back, let's use this now as a habit to trigger us to do our little 6 monthly declutter. Okay, and remember, when we're doing our declutter, let's throw in our power of 5. So our power of 5 is, do I really need this? And let's use a different one today. Let's use, does this really spark joy? Let's do that. Let's do that, you know. And, you know, maybe there are 5 things that spark joy that you haven't seen for a while that you want to go and find and really display properly. And there's maybe 5 things that you want to declutter out of the way so that you can put those 5 things that spark joy into your vision for the next few weeks. So let's do that.
So interesting.
Thank you, Elaine. And I would also like to thank, we've had such a wonderful pattern of guests. We started with Thilo Floche, the Belgian who lives in Britain, doing our European bit. And then we had Kathy Nelson from Connecticut, USA, photo organising. And then we had Tanya Lewis all the way from Australia at 2 a.m. in the morning. I still owe her some coffee. And talking about sort of eco-recycling and World Earth Day and all that stuff. And then we had Shalina Jakaya, British, but who lives in the United Arab Emirates from Dubai. And then Nacho last week, Nacho Eguiate from Mexico, from Culiacan, Mexico. And finally, thank you ever so much. We have Gayatri from India.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Elaine, would you like to end with a mindfulness moment?
Yes, we do a little mindfulness moment at the end of each show. So since this is our last show, let's do a little bit of mindfulness for a few minutes on letting go. But if that's not for you, then thank you very much for watching, and we hope to see you at our next series. If you would like to join us, take a moment to just sit nicely into your seat, feet grounded on the floor and your back nice and straight but relaxed. And let's take a nice deep breath in. And let's say some nice words on our breath out, and that is letting go. Okay, so we're just going to do 5 breaths of breath in. And as we release, letting go. Again, breathe in. Letting go. Breathe in. Letting go. Breathe in. Letting go. And the last one, breathe in. Letting go. Thanks for watching. We hope to see you next series. Bye-bye.